Greetings to you, our dear viewers. We are participants from the Uganda Management Institute, MBA class, cohort 29. This is a group 1 presentation with 10 participants. This presentation is based on the information which was derived from the preliminary assessment tool that was used on the Uganda Rural Water Development Project. The Uganda Rural Water Development Project is a project of our choice as a PPP. How do we define a PPP? A PPP is a public-private partnership. It is a mechanism for a government to procure and implement public infrastructure using the resources and expertise of the private sector. So it is a collaboration between the government and the private sector to deliver public infrastructure. The project name is the Uganda Rural Water Development Project. The location where the project will be implemented, it is within the rural areas of Uganda. The implementing government agency is the Ministry of Water and Environment. The sector in which the project is, it is a water and environment sector. And the type of this project is the construction, operation, and maintenance, which transfers the risk to the private sector and thereby delivering the services required by the citizens. Next slide. The background of this project, it was a proposal by the Ministry of Water and Environment in partnership with the private sector, in this case, who is the MS Hydronova Limited. The proposal is for the development of a new sustainable underground water supply network targeting the water-stressed parts of the rural water parts of the country. The project will deliver volumes of fresh water from a wide network of large diameter, high-yield wells with distributed piping systems. And kiosks as well to all the rural areas within the country worldwide, According to the PPP unit of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the project is still under the development phase. This is something that we need to take into consideration, that the project we conducted is still under development phase. Allow me at this juncture to invite the next presenter, who is Charlotte, to take us through the next phase of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard, for that brief background about our project, that is the Uganda Rural Water Development Project. Once our project is developed and implemented, these are the expected benefits. The project will improve access to clean water. It will help reduce waterborne diseases such as dysentery and cholera, diarrhea. It will also save time for children and women in the rural, especially in the rural areas. It will boost local economies. It will increase agricultural productivity through irrigation, especially in the water-stressed areas. It will also improve school attendance. The project will build capacity for the engineers, that is the local engineers, and it will also help improve standards of living. Thank you very much. Okello, you can proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Charlotte, for highlighting the expected benefits. We now look at the strategic suitability, and we are looking at how well a strategy aligns with an organization's goals, resources, and environment. At this point, excuse me, the strategic suitability we're looking at on an overall basis, the project has the potential to align with the strategic suitability. Nevertheless, potential deal breaker conditions have been triggered and significant weaknesses have been identified. Below are some of the strategies to address the weaknesses identified. One is identification of service needs and then assessment of service delivery options. Allow me to invite my colleague Fiona to take us through the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. I'll take you through the preliminary feasibility of the project. And this preliminary feasibility is mainly done to make sure that the project idea is fundamentally viable. And with this project, It was done across the technical, economic, social, and environmental dimensions. And we can see, according to our tool, it's moderately strong. But obviously, we see that there are some potential deal breakers or weaknesses. And the main weakness here is a financial pre-feasibility. And this can be solved through early risk identification and resource optimization. Let me hand over to Ian to take us through risk assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. Now, when it comes to risk assessment, we are looking at the main risks for this water project and what needs to be fixed, or the strategies to fix the identified weaknesses. As you can see on the tool we used, it is very unlikely that the project can be developed as a PPP due to the various weaknesses we identified, such as the risk of delay in land acquisition, since we don't know yet if the land has been acquired for the pilot sites. There's also the risk of the market and demand. There is no solid evidence that road users can afford the tariffs, the charges, and also we're not sure if government will commit fully to meet their end in terms of payment. Then also the other area that we had identified is the foreign exchange risk, and also the local teams need stronger skills to manage the contracts. So in order to address those identified areas, we have a few strategies. And that is, I think, the main emphasis for this assessment of risks. First, we have the awareness campaign, where we explain the changes and the tariffs to the communities so that there's less resistance. Secondly, we shall have stakeholder engagement. This will bring district local authorities on board, as well as the capacity building for the off-takers, and also training government teams to manage their contracts and payments properly. I now hand over to Gloria.
Thank you, Ian. I will talk about the project's suitability. So, as we have seen in the previous slide or with the previous presenter, that this project is highly risky. So the project's potential to be developed as a PPP is not well substantiated. In addition, significant weaknesses have been identified. There is high level of uncertainty associated with the project's PPP ability, and will require restructuring and reassessment before it can be taken forward. So all these risks have rendered our project, or this project that we have, unsuitable to be done. Below are the strategies to address the weaknesses. We need to have a customized contract design. We need to ensure cost recovery, flexible financing, strengthened oversight, clear legal and regulatory frameworks, and we need to have more transparency and accountability. I will hand over to Faiza.
Thank you, Gloria. We are going to look at the fiscal affordability. So the fiscal affordability is a government's ability to meet its financial obligations for a project without jeopardizing its overall budget, economic stability, and other priorities. Using the assessment tool, we discovered that the project is moderately weak. And we assessed this, we evaluated this project under various financial assessments. whereby we identified different weaknesses. And some of these issues we identified were the estimated economic impact, donor and private sector support, the tariff and household affordability, and lastly, the budgetary considerations. So we identified 2 strategies to address the weaknesses, which were the phased implementation, starting with the pilot phases, and the government guarantees. At this point, I call upon Michael to continue.
Thank you so much, Faiza, for taking us through the physical feasibility. I would like to take us through the institutional capability of this project. And our area that we are basically looking at is the preparedness of the contracting agency for the project. From our assessment tool, we realized that we discovered that it's moderately strong. And our comment is that the contracting agency planned the next stages of the project well, and they have capabilities and dedicated experienced personnel to manage the PPP. However, significant weaknesses have been identified, and below are the strategies that we shall use to address those weaknesses. One of them is performance-based contract and capacity building. It aims to expand safe water access in undeserved rural areas. Its success depends on strong institutional readiness, effective risk mitigation, and value for money delivery. To address the deal breakers that we previously mentioned, we recommend early stakeholder engagement, diversified financing, robust demand analysis, strong institutional capacity building, and the restructured PPP framework. These steps will help us mitigate key risks and improve the project's viability. Thank you for listening to us.